So then Frankie, on the other hand, in her session, when I bring up use your voice and that's the way to heal, the spirit guides say to me, oh, she has a husband who totally understands not being heard in the schools, in the residential schools, and really values that they need to hear each other. And so he really listens to her and he loves to just be in the moment. He'll even drop his hands and just look at her. Like whatever she has to say is just so interesting. And then he might look at her and go, that was such a good point of view, but I totally disagree. But he can so be present and go, so interesting, but I totally think you're wrong. And then she can go, that's okay.
Yeah, it's respectful.
That's okay. You don't have to have my point of view. And he might even look at her and go, I don't even want to do it your way. I think you're so wrong. But we'll give it a try because we tried it my way the last time. And so there's this, okay. And so she just sits in, okay, my turn. We're going to follow my lead this time. And she doesn't feel like, oh, shit. What if I make a mistake? What if I'm wrong? Oh, he's going to throw that in my face. There's no throwing it in her face. So their children are able to say, well, what do you want to do for Christmas this year? Or what does this family want to do? So they throw ideas around. They listen to each other's ideas. They might even change their mind and go, I thought my idea was the best, but now I think it sucks. Can we do yours? And it's like, oh, yeah, sure, we can do mine. But there's no animosity. There's no jealousy.
Well, can I chime in? Because what you're talking about in Frankie's situation is because there's a safety involved, people have the ability to develop critical thinking. And with critical thinking, hopefully, if you're not a narcissist, comes humility. The ability to entertain an idea that isn't yours and not necessarily have to accept it. Entertain someone else's idea and think, yeah, that could actually be better than what I was thinking of. But when you are sitting in an abusive relationship, you don't have the freedom to think critically because you're constantly on guard or bracing yourself for the next form of abuse that's coming at you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So Grace feels a lot of shame.
Yeah.
And her current shame, she thinks, is from all the residential school stuff. But I said to her, that's not true. You feel shame because of how your family treats you. And I said, so the guides want you to be able to separate that some of your shame is very current, but you're not dealing with it. So you're dumping that shame into the same pile as the residential school pile, and you're just storing it over there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Because she doesn't have the safety to deal with it.
Well, I think too, if you're scarred that young and you are taught that you are helpless, right? And by helpless, I just mean that you are not allowed to problem solve. You're not allowed to stand up. You're not allowed to have a voice. Then you learn that you really are helpless. There's no options. And so when you grow up with no critical thinking skills, you get put into a new situation, even though you know, the first wound is over situation is over, you still don't have the tools. And so if I can just blame it on this thing from the past that I couldn't control, then I don't have to do anything about it now.
Right. And so Grace has this situation where without the toolkit, without the therapy, she has had therapy, but the therapy tried to strictly address, and I don't know how come or what happened there, but it strictly tried to address that this just occurred in the residential school and that's what we need to heal. And she never spoke up to say, but my husband treats me the same, but my kids do this. And I don't address it in my kids because when I do, my husband comes in and defends them. And now I just don't bother because there's too many kids and there's a husband that always backs up the abusive behavior.
Well, I think some people genuinely don't see the parallel. I think sometimes that situation is so traumatic that the brain won't let you go to what's perpetuating it. It's just stuck in the trauma.